Hare Krishna. Om Agyantimayandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshunmalitam Jana Tasmai Shri Guve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Sthapitam Yena Bhuttale Swayam Upakaramayam Dadati Svabadantikam Namam Vishnu Krishnapissa Bhuttale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pachatari Shatarine Vanchakapatu Vesha Kripa Sinuevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Go Bhaktabanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, let me express that it is my great joy and honor that I can visit you here in San Diego and spend some little time with you today, sharing a few thoughts and insights. Maybe since many of you meet me for the first time, maybe I will introduce myself very briefly, because usually always people wonder, where is she from? What kind of accent is that? So I am originally from Germany, but I never lived there as a devotee, actually. I left Germany around 40 years ago, traveling the world, looking for a higher purpose to life. And then I met the devotees in Australia. That's why my accent is a bit of a mixture between Australian and German. And I lived quite a few years in Australia. I immediately joined the ladies' ashram and gave myself full time to this preaching mission. So this was in 85. So it's almost 40 years, 38 years. And yes, I have had a lot of wonderful challenges, adventures in these 38 years. I spent 10 years during my married life, 10 years in the former Soviet Union, and we established the first more organized temple there, which was a real pioneer adventure. And yeah, in a short time we had 75 brahmacharis. That's quite an army. And 30 brahmacharinis. Yeah, so this kept us pretty busy. So that was from 89 to 99. 89 was just when the Iron Curtain fell. And somehow, by Krishna's arrangement, we were there at the right time. And yeah, definitely I learned a lot of things which are now useful for my humble preaching efforts. So, and then 1999, my former husband decided to leave Krishna consciousness, leave me, marry a non-devotee, separate again. Not quite sure what he's doing now. So, and I took this also as Krishna's mercy, even though it is, of course, always sad when people leave Krishna consciousness. But yeah, so I just moved on. So yeah, I always like to point out that I didn't always look like this. When I was married, I had long hair and earrings, nose rings, bangles, makeup, colorful saris. You may not believe this, but but it is like that. Yeah, so I like to point this out because I personally find it very important that we go through these different phases in life. You know, I was 4 years in the temple as a celibate nun, brahmacharini. So then 10 years married, And then I moved on to the next phase in life, renounced phase in life. So and for the last 24 years, I've been basically living out of a suitcase. My base is Mayapur in India, but I am only there 2, 3, maximum 3 months. But I do all different courses and retreats there and events. And the rest of the year, I'm really living out of a suitcase. 5 months India and Bangladesh, 7 months all around Europe. Before the war started, I spent a lot of time in Ukraine for the last 20 years. So now I can't really go there. Do we have anybody Russian speaking here? Okay. One of my books is also in Russian, you know. I brought a few copies along just in case. Yes. But yeah, sometimes I still go to Australia, New Zealand, or US, Canada, South Africa, whatever. Yeah, so that's what keeps me busy. Yeah, so tonight I would like to discuss one topic with you, which I hope is relevant for all of you, no matter whether you have been 45 years in Krishna consciousness or whether you are here for the very first time. Do we have anybody here who comes for the first time? Okay, a few, good. So I think even for those who come for the first time, I hope you will take something home from this discussion. This is the topic of envy. Envy, our main obstruction within relationships. Yeah, so I think this is relevant to all of us, isn't it? Envy? Yes, we all more or less conscious or unconsciously, deal with this. And yeah, so no harm to get some insights. So first of all, let us understand where envy comes from. So basically, as soon as we strive for sense enjoyment, pleasure, then immediately envy enters. Envy and competition. That we feel somebody may enjoy more than we do, and we try to establish our superiority. Yes. And I like to understand envy as a state of heart. Usually when we use this word, we use it more in terms of being envious towards somebody who has something which we don't have. But I like to see it a little deeper and broader, that it is actually a state of heart. And this state of heart, this consciousness, comes out in all our relationships, towards seniors, towards equals, and also towards less experienced persons. In the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Puranas, our scriptures we read, there is, in the word-for-word translation, it says there, Kalaha, the envious, and then Prabhupada puts in brackets, almost everyone. Srila Prabhupada is this personality here, for those who are here the first time. He brought this knowledge to the whole world, actually. And he translated and the many books and wrote commentaries on them. And he had a very special sense of humor, And yes, saying almost everyone makes this nice point that, we often try to keep ourselves in this illusion that we are not envious. Everybody else is so envious, especially of me. But I am not envious. No, of course not. Because it is rather an ugly quality, actually. And we are very expert in sweeping this under the carpet and pretend that this doesn't concern us. So when Prabhupada says almost everyone, this means, well, most likely it will include us too, right? Yes. Another thing I would like to point out before we start with the discussion, that this discussion is meant to reflect and introspect and discover the envy in our hearts, not in other people's hearts. Because very easily this can creep in, that we say, oh yes, now I know why this and this person treats me like this. They are actually envious. I always knew this. So we don't want to fall into that trap. What does it mean if we point the finger at others and think they are envious? What does that mean? Yeah, it means we are actually envious. And that's why we try to detect the envy in others and put them down. So let's not allow our envy to manifest in such a gross way, right? So yes, let's look in our hearts. And I have to warn you a little bit, some people where I made this presentation before, they have afterwards shared with me, ooh, this was a real heart surgery. I realize I've got it all. Towards more experience, towards equals, towards less experience. It's all me. My God, I never even realized before. So you may find yourself in a similar situation. So, but see, my mood is I don't like to offer spiritual entertainment. I actually like to inspire transformation. And for that, we have to go a little deeper. We have to introspect. And we have to be open, right? Yes. Because bhakti, the process of bhakti, is all about transforming the heart. It's actually the most difficult thing, to transform the heart. So unless we hear about these unwanted qualities, there's hardly even a chance that we can transform, because we are not even conscious about them. And without being introspective and reflect, we also can hardly even make any spiritual advancement and receive some transformation. Yes. So I do want to discuss with you one particular verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is 4th Canto, 8th chapter, verse 34. And I want to read with you the translation and purport. And I would like to ask you to be specially attentive, because we do want to collect the different aspects of the envious and non-envious behavior towards seniors, equals, and juniors or less experienced people. So please be attentive. So I will just chant once through the Sanskrit. Gunadikam mudam lipset anukusham gunadamat maitrim samanat anvichin natapher avibhuyate. Translation. Every man, and I mean here man means human. So men and women, not only men. It's not gender related. So every man should act like that, like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. So that last sentence is already an amazing statement. That if we just learn how to act without envy, we are never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Wow, that's promising, isn't it? Yes. So let us read the purport. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. So here we have the statement again, that if we act in an envious way, these are the root causes of all miseries, sufferings within our relationships. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him, just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should always also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. And often Prabhupada's last sentence one more time hits the nail on the head. So he says, these important functions will make one happy within this material world. So one more time, this statement comes that if we just learn to be non-envious, we can be happy. Just see. Even though we always say that we cannot be happy in this material world. But now Prabhupada says we can be happy. So how is that? Well, we can say, or Prabhupada describes, that in the spiritual world, because there is no desire for sense enjoyment, for material pleasure, therefore there is no envy there. Absolutely none. Yes. So if we already here now in San Diego, or wherever it may be, if we actually cultivate non-enviousness, in one sense we can say we are actually not part of this material world. We are already in the spiritual world. Yes. And then we can be happy. Yes. There's also one purport where Prabhupada says, actually there is no material world. There's only forgetfulness of Krishna. And of those people who are in forgetfulness of Krishna, from them it is to be said that they live in the material world. Right? It is also a very nice way how Prabhupada makes the point, because that's the amazing thing about the process of Krishna consciousness, that the process and the goal, they're actually the same. Yes. So here we are glorifying the Lord, we are serving Him, we feed Him, we bathe Him, we dress Him, we decorate Him, we celebrate His festivals. we chant His holy name. All these things we will also be doing if we ever enter the spiritual world. Same activities. So that gives this wonderful opportunity that we already here now, we can actually taste some little glimpse of that joy, that happiness, which is awaiting us there in the spiritual world. You know? And therefore, you know, if a person is fully absorbed in these spiritual activities centered around the pleasure of the Lord, then that person is already in the spiritual world. You know? Yes. Yes. Even though we may be physically still here. You know? Yeah, so now let us collect the different aspects of our relationships. Let us start with the envy towards seniors. An envious, envious mood towards seniors. Envious behavior. What did Prabhupada say? Or let us start like this. What was the non-envious reception of a senior? How do we meet a non-envious person? How do we meet a senior person when we are non-envious? Well, yeah, you know everything, Prabhu. As much as I'd like to hear your input. Yes. Yes, we should be jolly to receive him. So the envious reaction would be that we are not so jolly to receive him, right? We might think, oh no, not this person is coming now. And we may ask him, oh, how long are you staying? Oh, Prabhu, oh, 3 days, oh, good. And we think, thank God, then he's moving on. And then I have the senior to myself again. And we may receive him with some plastic smile. So that is when we have some envy there in our heart. But what else do? We actually do much more than this. When we are envious towards a more experienced person or more capable person, what else do we do? Yes? We find fault. Very true. Oh, we are very good at that, right? Yes, we're very good at fault finding. Yesterday in our house program we were talking about prajalpa, the nonsense talk, and fault finding is one of these kinds of mundane talks. Yes, fault finding. We find faults, we criticize, we backbite behind his back, we talk negative about him. Why? Because we want to reduce his importance and establish ourselves in a superior position. Indirectly, we're saying, I'm actually much better than this person, right? And this can creep in a very subtle way. Let us imagine that a senior preacher comes and leads a kirtan, and our friend says to us, oh, that was a nice kirtan, wasn't it? And then we say, yeah, it was good, but, the big but, I didn't like the tune, or his mridanga playing could have been better, that needs to be improved. So we find something to reduce his importance. And amazingly, even if it is true that his mridanga playing was not so fantastic, or that the tune he sang was not so good, so even if it is true, but just the fact that we have this urge to point this out, if we really look within, we have to detect some envy there. That's why we like to make that statement. So whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. That's the interesting point which we often overlook. We think, well, it's true. What's wrong with sharing the truth here with my friend? Can I say, what I feel? Freedom of speech, what's happening here? Can't I say, But no, it's very subtle. But just the fact that we like to make that statement, it actually shows envy. And we can very easily cover it up by saying, well, I'm just sharing my experience of the kirtan. What's wrong with that? Yes. Yeah, so it's good to keep that in mind. And what else do we do? There's another common way how we act towards a more experienced person when we are envious. Let me see if anybody gets this. Envious? Learn from him? Forget it. No. No, not. How do we receive a person when we are envious, when they're more experienced? We resist them.
But their teaching will avoid, that's not true.
Yeah, so we object to his teachings, but what else do? We ignore him. Yes, we pretend he's just nobody, not worth giving any attention to. We just ignore him. Don't hardly even say Hare Krishna. Just look the other way, pretend he's just air. Yes. So that's a pretty common way also, to treat a person when we are envious, Yes. So let us move on to the non-envious behavior towards a senior. So we said already, we are jolly to receive him. And what else do we do? How do we associate with a person who is more experienced? We serve them, and what else?
Hear from them.
We hear from them, we respect them, we hear from them, we inquire submissively, not challenging and provocatively, but submissively. Exactly. We have it in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi Panipatina, Pariprashnena Sevaya. So Pariprashna, Prashna is the question, we inquire, Sevaya means we serve. So, and that is not only towards Guru, but actually towards anybody who is more experienced than we are. That's how we take advantage of a more experienced person, his presence. We squeeze some nectar out of this person, right? Yes. And interestingly, this serving and inquiring, these two activities, they enhance each other. So the menial service mood puts us in the right frame of mind to hear from this person, because to take advantage, to really receive some knowledge, we have to be in a humble mood, right? It's almost a torture to hear from somebody who we don't have a humble mood towards, Then the mind rebels, what's he saying? And, God, I know this, and, I would say this differently, and. Yes, but if we serve in a humble way, then we want to hear that the heart is in a fertile state to hear from that person. And then the more we hear, the more I feel inspired to serve. And the more we serve, the more we want to hear. So this hearing, serving enhances each other. Very important aspects of spiritual practice. Actually, maybe you also notice this, that very often these days, people, rather than inquiring in humility, they love to talk about themselves. Right? Oh yes. People love to talk about themselves, what they've all been doing and this and that. And actually to do this towards a more experienced person, a senior person, it's a little out of place, actually. Because it kind of shows we want to show off and impress the person how great we are. But no, we should actually only talk about ourselves when that senior person is asking us, so what have you been doing? What are you up to? What service are you doing? But if that person is not asking, we are not actually meant to talk about ourselves, but we are meant to inquire. Right? Yes. So let us move on towards the relationships with juniors, with less experienced persons. What is the envious mood and behavior when we are envious towards a less experienced person? Yes, Prabhu?
We become condescending and we deride them.
Yes, very true. We talk in a condescending way, we talk down on him, we deride him, we are somehow oppressive, put him down, make fun out of him, make a good joke, have a good laugh on his expense, especially in front of others, Yes, these are all, more or less subtle ways of putting the person down, even though he is already less experienced. But no, the envy manifests that we use that relationship to one more time clearly establish. I'm up here, you are down there. Right? And yes, we may say, yes, I'm your friend and well-wisher, I want to help you, I want to uplift you, but definitely not higher than I am. Right? Yes, that's the mood when we are envious. That I'm always, superior to you and you remain below me. Right? To actually really uplift a person higher than we are, that we want him to be more successful, more glorious than we are, that requires non-envy. Yes, yes, yes. Also, this sometimes comes out when we delegate. I kind of noticed this, that sometimes we are not so good in delegating. That we have this mood, either you do it or I do it. And if you do it, okay, good luck, you do it. But actually, especially when we are more experienced, a nice way to delegate is that we follow up. We ask him, how are you doing? Maybe you need a bit of help, you need some extra money, you need a few extra people to help you. Maybe I can give you some tips, So if we follow up like that, then we clearly show this mood, I want you to be successful, more successful than I would be. But very often we don't do this. And we say, okay, you do it, good luck. None of my business what you're doing there. And it may almost be like, maybe in the hidden corners of our heart, we hope that he will not be so successful, right? That we can say, just see, I knew you can't do it. I knew I should have done it, but you wanted to do it, Yeah, so when we detect such kind of patterns of behaviors, then we should look in our heart that maybe there is some envy there. Maybe we don't want that person to be successful, right? Yeah, what else is there? Well, sometimes And again, let's not fall into this trap of thinking, oh, that's why my seniors are treating me like this. But yeah, sometimes when we overly harshly and constantly chastise and correct a person, this can also be a sign of envy. Yes. And interestingly, this sometimes even comes out towards children, you know? Yes. That we constantly pick on them and scream at them and correct them and chastise them, you know? Sometimes I see this on my travels, you know, or you know, that parents sometimes scream at their kids, and you can see there's all this frustration and anger and envy bursting out from their heart, and the poor child cops it. Yes, yes. So we have to be careful, you know. Yes, yes. We have to be very introspective and not allow these things to enter our relationships like that. Yes. So now, let us move on to the non-envious behavior of less experienced persons. What's the non-envious behavior? Yes, compassion. We compassionately and affectionately reach out to them, we uplift them, we want them to be more glorious, more successful than we are. Right? Yes. And actually a non-envious person really knows how to connect with just anybody and everybody in an uplifting way. Srila Prabhupada was a perfect example of this. He knew how to connect with anybody, no matter whether it was a child or a hippie or a drunkard on the park bench or a scientist or some religious, some Christian priest, or no matter who it was, Prabhupada knew how to connect for their ultimate benefit, you know, as well-wishing friend. And sometimes Prabhupada was so heavy, speaking heavy words, you know, fools, rascals, whatnot, you know. But because it came from a 1000% non-envious heart, people could feel that. Yes, even though he spoke so heavily, but they could feel that he actually wanted their very best. You know, and that's why, as a rule, people did not get offended. So, but we can't imitate this. Sometimes we think, well, Prabhupada was talking like this, so why can't I talk like this? But because when we speak so heavily, there's a good chance that there is still a pinch of envy mixed in, and then it becomes not so uplifting for the other person, you know, but they get actually affected by this envy there and traveling in the sound vibration like that. Yes, so now the last category of relationships, towards equals. How does the envy manifest towards equals? Who can remember? Yes? We compete, exactly. And how does it manifest? What did Prabhupada say in the purport? No, envy. You one step ahead of us. Envy, huh? We are proud of our activities, right? Yes, we like to chant our glories, talking about our achievements and impress the other person. In other words, that mood is there, that all right, we are equals, but actually I'm a little superior, and I'm going to prove it to you. That is the mood there, you know. So we can just imagine, you know, let's say, well, maybe I shouldn't use these examples, otherwise you think all traveling preachers are envious or something. But no, let us imagine, I use it anyway, I can't think of any other example now. Let's imagine two traveling preachers meet. And one says to the other, in the name of sharing, I'm just sharing with my friend. I just was at the New York Rath Yatra, and guess what? I was leading the kirtan for so long. You want to have a look here, YouTube? I can send you the link, you know. And then, there was the stage program, and guess what? I was giving a talk in front of hundreds of people. You want to see here, YouTube, here the photos. Oh, it was even in the newspaper, me talking, and you know. Yeah, so then we chant our own glories, carrying on, and then we say, and what about you, Prabhu? What did you do? So by then the other person thinks, oh wow, you are so great, I'm nothing. I've got nothing to even compare with you. You know? So that's the competitiveness there amongst two equals who are envious. Right? Yeah, so now what is the non-envious behavior amongst equals? Meaning similar influence and similar capabilities, you know. So what's the non-envious behavior?
We like to point out the attributes of the other.
Exactly, yes. And actually we can say there is also a kind of competition happening, that they push each other forward. Oh, you are more experienced, Prabhu, I want to hear from you. Now you sing the kirtan, I like your way of singing. You know, they push each other forward. And out of Vaishnava humility, they consider themselves less experienced. And therefore they actually interact like a junior towards a senior, that they want to serve each other and they want to inquire from each other. And in that way, Prabhupada was saying, they build friendships. So in one sense we can say friendship is also there towards seniors or juniors, but the friendship amongst equals is very special. It's very intimate and sweet. Because both are sharing and inquiring about each other's secrets, right? That one person says to the other, oh Prabhu, you've been a brahmachari for 40 years. What's your secret? Tell me. What's your secret? And the other one says, you've been on the street distributing Prabhupada's books for 40 years. So what's your secret? Tell me. Right? So there is a very intimate sharing there, which can only take place amongst equals, actually. You cannot share with such intimacy with a senior or with a junior, but equals, it is possible, you know. And that's the special feature of a friendship amongst equals. If they are non-envious, that's the price to pay, you know, to experience that. Yes. And interestingly, this is exactly the mood in the spiritual world also, you know. In the spiritual world, like the gopis, the manjaris, they actually experience more bliss pushing the others towards Krishna rather than pushing themselves towards Krishna, you know. This may be almost hard for us to imagine, right? How you can feel more bliss pushing others closer to Krishna, you know. Yes, yes. But that's what's going on in the spiritual world, you know. Yes. So if we want to go there one day, we somehow have to cultivate the mood. Yes. So now, last question to you. What do you think, which relationship is most purifying? With seniors, equals, or juniors? What do you think?
I would say with seniors, because of our disciplic line.
Okay. Any other suggestion?
It's a guess.
All of them.
All of them? Yes. Yeah, I mean, we can say maybe, especially as a newcomer, we definitely learn more when with senior association. But then equal association is actually the most purifying, because it brings the most biting and pinching envy from the most hidden corners of the heart to the surface. Yes, yes. Because like with seniors, not so difficult to say, oh, I'm just their humble servant, you know, and we hope that some of their glory splashes over to us, right? Yes, look, it's always me next to Guru. That's what a confidential servant and associate I am. I'm in every photo with my Guru Maharaj. I'm always next to him. You know, so that's not so difficult. And it's also easy to surround ourselves with less experienced persons who look up to us and so on. And we say, yes, I'm their servant. But towards equals, there we have to show true color. You know, if we are really servant, or whether we try to prove that we are actually superior, we are the master here and controller and enjoyer. So the equal association is actually most purifying. Yes, yes. So we should consciously, especially as we become more experienced, more mature in devotional life, this equal association becomes even more important. Yes. I mean, we have the story in the Bhagavatam where the Lord, Lord Brahma wanted to meet the Lord in Vaikuntha. And the doorkeepers ask, oh, which Brahma is that? You know? And Brahma gets all irritated. What do you mean? I'm Lord Brahma. You know? So then what is Lord Vishnu arranging? Some equal association for him. He calls all the Lord Brahmas from all the different universes. And our Lord Brahma has 4 heads, but there's others who have 10 or 100, you know. And that made our Lord Brahma a little more humble. Okay, there's others who have more heads than me. Okay, I'm not the only Lord Brahma here. So yes, you know, nice little story which illustrates the importance of equal association, even on the level of Lord Brahma. You know, yes. Yeah, so equal association, very important. And we may have had this experience, you know, 2 equally qualified cooks cooking lunch for Guru Maharaj can be an intense experience. If it's one expert and a helper, no problem. But 2 experts in the kitchen, you know, very easily the competitiveness comes in. Who knows best what Guru Maharaj likes, and now his diet has changed, and don't you know, he told me he can't eat this anymore, and you know. Yes, yes. Or 2 equally experienced pujaris dressing the deities up for Janmashtami can also be intense. Who's got the better idea? And oh my God, you know. So yes, serving in association of similarly experienced devotees. This is very purifying, yes. So let me ask, we have 10 minutes time left. Do we have any questions? Since this topic is a practical one, I always like the practical application of things. Yes, Peru.
Yeah, just a quick comment and clarification.
Yes.
In my many years of working with Prabhupada's books, this word envious comes up a lot, and envy. And I soon realized that Prabhupada is using the word envy and envious in a broader sense than we normally do in the West, in modern America. And sure enough, I have access to the Oxford English Dictionary.
Okay.
You can find out a lot there. Prabhupada is using the words like sufficiently. Sometimes it means abundantly. It doesn't mean just enough. But anyway, envious, you'll even find it in the modern American English Dictionary. I just looked it up. It says obsolete, ill will, hate. Now, it doesn't have any, you can be envious without the slightest tinge of jealousy. And I found one or two examples here. This is text 13-14 in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. One who is not envious, but is the kind friend of all living entities. The word is adveshta, which means not hating anyone. It doesn't have anything to do with, and then he says, and then in the purport, oh no, this is another one. He has that this person is envious of himself. You're even envious of himself. He's envious of the scriptures. What is that? That the scriptures have something I don't have? No. It's that you hate the idea of these books that you have to surrender to and you have to follow. This is the demons, you see? So we should be aware that when we read Prabhupada's books, and the envy is a broader thing. It means envy can be just bearing ill will. Not necessarily you're jealous of something, but you just, So that's just one larger aspect to the whole discussion.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, Madhiji.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you also, Prabhu, because I was going to do I don't know if it's pertinent a comment, but what you said about the Prabhu that was commenting on the one, he doesn't really play the mridanga so well. So that's me, but I'm doing that with myself. So I'll play kirtan, then I go home, there's a little video, say, that voice was so bad, and this I did was so bad. So, I mean, it's not really that I'm envy against myself, but like Prabhu says, so, I mean, the criticism that you describe people having with each other, I have a lot against myself. So it was just a comment. And I don't know.
Well, I dare say, when it is in a healthy way, without putting yourself down and all this, or developing some complexes. But in a healthy way, no harm to look, to hear what you sound like and where you can improve, What's the problem? We should look at ourselves and see how we can improve and what effect we may have towards the audience or whatever, But it has to be in a healthy way, wanting to improve our service, rather than being overly worried what other people think of us or something, but simply how we can improve our service, So I think there is some room for this, Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So my question is, with the three different categories, like especially, so let's say we meet someone and like, how do we know if there's someone who's equal or someone who's junior? Like say they've, maybe you don't know how many years they've been in Krishna consciousness, or it's about the same, but then like maybe if you've read Nectar of Instruction, you kind of know what to look out for, and then they're kind of like, wait, I thought this person was on my level, but maybe they're not. I mean, is that yes. just being envious, or what?
Now, let me first very briefly touch upon the question, how do we see who is senior, equal, junior? So the ultimate criteria is our Krishna consciousness, our power of uplifting others. But that is a little difficult to judge, right? And therefore, we take more external criteria, almost material criteria. How long a person has been in Krishna consciousness, when did they take first initiation, second initiation? Because we have to start somewhere, right? Then another criteria is a person's mere age. So if a person is 30 years older than we are, then we see them as superior just due to their life experience. Or managerial position is also a criteria for seniority or superiority. Or renounced ashram, sannyas, is always considered, superior to grihasthas, like that. And actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives another funny criteria, which we don't hear so often. He says, he is superior who is bigger in body. So, bigger in body, you better watch out. Yes, but the ultimate criteria is actually one's Krishna consciousness. And when we are in doubt, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, one of our previous great saints in ISKCON, he was always saying, we should see everybody else as Vaishnava except myself. I'm just trying to become one. Then we are on the safe side. But then also, for the sake of things going on according to Vaishnava etiquette, we may also have to accept the position of being superior in a mood of humble service. Like we have these etiquette rules that the seniors chant first the Sanskrit in the morning class, or they take first the Chanamrita, and so sometimes nobody wants to be the senior, and everybody says, no, you go first, no, you go first, no, you go first, so and this is also a kind of false ego battle. No, we accept the seniority in the mood of humble servant, just so to give everybody the opportunity to follow the Vaishnava etiquette and culture, like that. Yes. Yes, and we don't have the time, but there are nice stories in the Bhagavatam, with King Rahugana and Jada Bharat, King Rahugana jumped off the palanquin, paid obeisances to Jada Bharat when he realized what a great soul he is. Even though he is the king, Jada Bharat was just a palanquin carrier, So that shows true Vaishnava humility, That even though we may externally have the superior position, but then we realize, no, this person is actually more realized. So then we take the humble position, Yes. I do have 5 very powerful steps how to uproot envy, apart from the process of Krishna consciousness. But since we don't have any time, if you want to know more about it, check out the books. Because this topic of envy, it's in the book Sheltering Relationships. And there I'm giving these 5 steps, and I'm also giving them in the False Ego book, because these 5 steps, they really work for any kind of situation where we want to transform an unwanted pattern of behavior. Yes, very simple, practical. I use them myself to work on myself, and I can say, by Krishna's mercy, it is working. But it requires quite a bit of internal work. Yes.
Could you briefly tell us those 5 steps?
No. I'm afraid I'm going to get chastised for going over time, because it's 7 o'clock. And, this may be a reason for you to get a book, And then you get so much more than the 5 steps, You get so much more. Yes. Yes, so please, if you want to connect more personally, come to the book table. I'll be hanging around there during prasadam time also and afterwards. And yes, it would be a great honor for me to put some of these books in your hands. I feel a great urgency to get different messages out. And so please come and see me. Okay, so thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi.
Hare Krishna.
And if you have more questions, we can continue there. Hare Krishna.
All right.